Hey, Susan. Hi. Hey, Chris.
Sorry, I had to get my lighting just right.
I know how that is. Trying to make sure that other people are coming.
I'm going to have to be slipping some food in here. I'm still working on lunch.
Oh, wow. I'm waiting on the rest of our.
So Diana couldn't make it tonight?
No, she's got a sick bird and she has no one to bird sit.
What kind of bird does she have?
I think they're parrot, like a parrot.
Hmm.
Hi, Melanie.
Hey.
I know Chip's coming. You're muted.
Of course I am. I'm going to be popping in and out because I'm cooking, but I can hear you.
Okay, no worries.
See me, you won't see me, you'll see me.
We're waiting on Chip, and Lily, I think, has got some internet issues, and Diana has bird issues.
Hey, George.
Hi. Sorry, I kind of just popped up randomly. I didn't even introduce myself. Maybe I can get my video started. There we go. I'm George. I'm the field deputy for Studio City as of January 1st. So I just wanted to pop in, see what you are talking about, do your thing and learn above all. So happy to be here.
Welcome, George. There's Chip, and I think Jesse's on his way home.
What does a field deputy do? Because I don't know what that is.
Sure. Sorry, you caught me in the middle of a mouthful. Give me a second.
Hey, I'm eating too, so it's fine.
We're all either cooking or eating. This is our reality now.
So in my role, my responsibilities is mainly just constituent casework, fielding questions that you may all have relating to the city. Our main issues are, if you have something related with DWP, we can help resolve. We kind of liaise between different city departments and any concerns that you may all have, as well as, if you have any ideas legislatively, we're able to bring that up to the council member, to our legislative team, and mainly just being the eyes and ears for the work that's done in City Hall.
Got it. So you're the one that we can actually get a hold of when we need to get a hold of somebody.
Day and night, I'm here.
Could you put your info in the chat so we all have it?
Definitely, yes.
And also, tonight, one of our agenda items is talking about the composting program. So, that it's become illegal to throw wet garbage into the black bin now. And well, not as of today. I think, what's the date? There's a date.
January 1st.
January 1st. So we're going to be talking about that, about educating the public about that. So you might lend your wisdom to that.
Great, yeah, and I don't have the chat available on my Zoom home screen.
Oh.
Yeah,
I'm
Randy
gonna
doesn't,
make you,
Randy doesn't give us chat.
Huh?
Randy doesn't give us chat for some reason.
Oh, he doesn't give us chat? Oh, do I have that? All right, why don't you just tell me, do you want me to, how do I do this? Do you want?
It's just my first name dot last name at lacity.org. So I think my name pops up if you're able to
Is
see
it
it.
Jorge or George?
It's Jorge, but I pronounce it George. So
Okay.
Jorge.Plasencia.
George, and then what's your last name?
Plasencia, spelled PLASCE, N as in Nancy, CIA, at lacity.org.
All right, I'll share that with everybody. So
Welcome, George.
Happy to be here, Chip. Thank you.
I think everyone's here who's going to come, because Lily can't come and Diana can't come. And we've got Susan, Chris, Melanie, Chip. Is there anyone else? Adele?
Alexander Black here too.
And Alex. Yeah, Alex is here. Okay. All right, great. We can start. So Jesse, are you down for doing the minutes?
Sure.
You want to take roll?
I don't have the agenda in front of me. Do you want to take it and I'll just record
Sure.
it?
Yeah, and then you just mark it down.
Sure.
Okay. Lily is absent and Diana is absent, both excused. And Susan?
Here.
Chris?
I'm here.
Melanie?
Yep.
Chip?
Here.
Alex?
Here.
Adele? Here. Jesse?
Here.
Good. Okay, so that's everybody. All right. Let me just get the agenda up. So right now we have reports from committee members. We have a report from Melanie on the Studio City Greenway project and the status of the universal funds, project funds.
So don't have any definitive answers yet, but George and I got up to speed on that today. And we know that there's going to be inquiries made and council to council discussions had. So I feel like we have a good chance of getting some answers before the next meeting, I would hope. Because we're looking forward to starting this work and we need the information to start the work. And so it's nice to have new blood on the ball. That's the report.
On both of those things?
On both of those things, yeah.
And so do you want to share anything, George, sorry. Do you want to share anything with us about those projects, or?
I mean, George, I just got him up to speed on that today. He's just today. So
Right.
I don't expect George to have any answers as of yet, but.
Okay. So, I mean, you explained to him, like, the Greenway project is, there's funds for it that was allocated, and
Yep. I owe him an email with attachments so he can see our, the neighborhood council the request that was sent to the former council members, so that's specific. I'm sending him the budget that the city had proposed and the background on all this. So we talked it through, and I owe him that email with all the wonderful attachments and background. And he'll have that tomorrow. Take it from there.
You
Okay,
have
that's-
the background as far as the photo op of the ribbon cutting.
I don't want to overwhelm him with things, but
I think I saw a news article with that back in 2018, actually,
Yep.
when I was doing my own research.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's the last time that's happened.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
great. So I am up to speed for the most part.
Last scene with Ted Cruz in Cancun.
Yeah, right. But I have a good feeling about us getting a little more responsiveness happening here now. So, yay, that's what we got.
Great.
That's my update on that.
Thanks, Melanie.
Yeah.
That's good. Are there any other committee reports or any other reports of our activities?
I would just like to, since I'm unmuted already, I know we're going to talk about the composting tonight, but what we didn't put on the agenda was the new state regs on water. So if we're going to, as a neighborhood council, look to do some community education on the new composting program, I think we should also consider doing some community education on the new state water regs. So you may or may not know that it's now, prohibited, and fines can be associated with washing cars without a shutoff nozzle, hosing down sidewalks, or watering grass within 2 days of rain, using potable water to irrigate grass on a street median or landscaped areas, or parkway areas, using drinking water, tap water for street cleaning, and overwatering yards, and using any potable water for decorative fountains and things like that. So these are new state regs for conservation and drought vesting, and there are fines associated. So it's just community education, adding that to the community education on composting. We're never really going to be out of drought again. It'll either be drought or flood. So yay. That's it.
Thank you. Any other reports or? Okay. Let's see. Sorry, I have to go back to the agenda. I think we're on agenda item number 3. Public comments on items not on the agenda. And I think we have a guest here to speak to us, which is Dennis.
Great. Is it my time?
It's your time.
Oh, wonderful. Hi, everybody. My name is Dennis. I use they, them pronouns. I am the new director of education at Friends of the LA River. And this is my new baby, Kiko. But I'm here today because I just wanted to reach out to y'all. FOLAR is planning a good amount of environmental education programming in Studio City within the next 3 to 5 years. And the goal of this programming is to work with youth to inspire them to, be passionate about nature, and also recognize the specific concerns within Studio City. So really today is just about me introducing myself, saying that we're planning programming in the future. This programming will be in collaboration with Harvard Westlake at the sort of former Weddington Golf site. So I just wanted to sort of reach out. If y'all have any questions about the programs, the site itself, really anything, you're welcome to reach out to me. I probably don't have all the answers, but I do know the individuals that probably can answer those questions for you. But another reason why I'm here today is because I really would love to hear some of your input on what you think would be valuable in terms of environmental education programming at FOLAR. So I was going to share a link to a survey, It doesn't look like I have availability to share in the chat. I'm curious, Adele, would
We don't have that.
oh, okay.
The Studio City Neighborhood Council doesn't make that available.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to send a link to me, I can share it with the committee.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, I already sent it to you right before this meeting. And if anybody is really eager in sharing their feedback, my email address is Dennis, DENNIS @fuller.org. But I see some hands that are up. We'll start with Melanie and then we'll go over to George.
Go
Hi,
ahead.
Dennis, welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
I used to run that organization 25 years ago.
Fuller. Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Wow. It's really unusual for education programs to be launched these days in well-advantaged communities. So I had heard that you were contemplating this, and I the only thing I could think was that Harvard Westlake was funding this. And I get really nervous about that. I think most of this community is uncomfortable with that. We've been working since I am based in Studio City and have been since the mid-90s. The River Project has been working here for a long time, working with the schools on all projects we do and stuff like that. So it's just really awkward and concerning that an organization who has recently really leaned into environmental justice, turning to a well-advantaged community with funding from the backer of one of the most controversial projects that stands to negatively impact the river itself, to come teach us about and teach our kids about environmental issues. There's just some concern on my part, and I think on others. I saw some nods around the room. So I would, I don't know, maybe give it a think, maybe come and get, before you put a survey out about what we want our kids to know about the environment, be super transparent and have more conversations about how the community feels about partnerships with Harvard Westlake.
You know, oh, before I start, do you have any other thoughts?
That's mostly my feedback, and I'm not saying that I'm representing everybody here, but I think I would be representing a lot of voices in Studio City.
So before you go into a back and forth, we try not to have back and forths.
Okay.
In the neighborhood council, and what we'll listen to other people's comments, yeah. So Jorge.
Great, Dennis. Again, wanted to echo that welcome. If you had any informational graphics that maybe our office can share, or can help promote and to help you with your survey, please send that over to us. We will be happy to share any information that may affect some residents, or if you would like some feedback. So just wanted to put that out there.
Great, thank you so much, George. And I see another hand, Chris.
Hi, Dennis. I don't want this to be a shoot the messenger thing, but I feel exactly the same way as Melanie. This seems like the epitome of a conflict in interest. Harvard Westlake does not represent what at least I think is the proper direction for conservation. So I would reiterate Melanie's comments there.
Thank you, Chris.
Did you have anything, Chip?
Yeah. Hello, Dennis. Nice to see you. What is the thinking like in terms of, is there a syllabus? Is there a program you're talking about right now? Is this something that you're planning on hosting out of the river park, assuming it does get built?
Yeah. So the a bit, backing up just a little bit, by no means are we trying to remove equity from Full-R's like vision and mission in the future. That is 100% something that we plan and will continue to integrate into our programming's future. Really how we see the site, we envision this partnership to really, utilize some of the resources that we have in Studio City and kind of spread that out to some of the Title I schools and schools that are underserved within conservation and STEM. So there's a lot of potential of what the site can be and what the programming can look like. But our goal is to really focus on youth that haven't been served environmental education and haven't been served these kinds of opportunities. So yes, the site will be housed in Studio City, but by no means does that mean we'll only be working with students that come from that neighborhood. Aside from that, there's been a couple ideas that have been tossed out, mainly the idea around workforce development. So we're really hoping to use the site as a potential to share some of those resources. For example, the site itself has a huge water treatment facility. So it's going to be capturing a good amount of runoff from the city. And rather than just going directly into the LA River, it's going to be filtering it. So we want to use that as an opportunity to talk about infrastructure that helps our environment and talk about green infrastructure as a whole with our communities. But yeah, if you'd like to learn more, Chip, or if you'd like to continue the conversation, all of this input is super, super valuable. So thank you, everybody, for bringing up these concerns. Melanie, I see your hand is up also.
Sorry, I just have one other question. How much are they funding you?
I'm only in charge of the educational program, so I don't have access to that information right now.
I think the community would like to know what the total funding is from Harvard Westlake to your educational programs that will be located in, and they're promising that you can base them out of Studio City. I mean, that makes you a positive stakeholder, whether you're apparently advocating for their project or not. Mm-hmm. You are advocating for their project, and that's a concern. Mm-hmm. And it would have been super cool if you'd reached out to locally based colleagues before making that decision, but that ship has sailed. I think it'd be great if you share with us how much Harvard Westlake is funding you to develop this program.
Sure. Yeah. Like I said, I don't have really many details around the funding or what that looks like, but I'll reach out to the organizer at Harvard Westlake to see if that information has already been publicly available. And if it's not, I'm definitely going to pass along that message. But thank you for that. And any other comments, questions?
Do you know who the organizer at Harvard Westlake is?
Ari, I think the last name is, gosh.
You know who he is.
Okay, wonderful.
Dennis, have you been to the site yet?
I've been once. Yes, I've been once. And we did a little bit of a tour, and it seems like there's good sort of visibility to the LA River. I mean, right now it's still gonna be very different from what it will look like in the future. And our concerns are around making sure that it does sort of focus on ecological and equity principles as a partner within this front. But yes, I have been to the site.
So just so you know, we had an ad hoc committee formed about the Harvard Westlake project, and we got overwhelming feedback that the community is against the Harvard Westlake project, that they feel it is actually environmentally a disaster, that the amount of walls that are going to go up, 12-foot walls around the property, that the lighting situation, that the synthetic turf, which will actually cause more runoff in a floodplain, is a disaster, that and there's a lot of questions about the water reclamation project. It actually is a very expensive project for very little return. And so the work of the ad hoc committee, looking into the notice of preparation, found that also there is going to be a massive amounts of concrete poured into the earth there. As you know, currently it only has one building that's about 5,000 square feet, and they want to build over 300,000 square feet of buildings on that property that has never been dug up. So the indigenous tribes are very concerned about the digging up and the fact that they might be unearthing, fossils and et cetera. So, and I'm only touching the bare minimum of the problems there. Environmentally, that they want to take down 240 old mature growth trees that are sequestering carbon at a rate that the trees they have now will not sequester for another 50 years. These things are a big concern of the community in Studio City, and people are not in favor of the project. And so it's so ironic that you would come here to say that you're going to do an environmental studies program to raise awareness in kids about environmental issues when this project is an environmental, disaster, as the community felt. So this is a big problem, and I really think that FOLAR has to look at what they're doing and who they're associating with, because you're associating with people who are going to build on a floodplain. This is the lowest point on the LA River, the lowest point on the LA River, and for the last 100 years has been a place where the water is absorbed here and goes into the aquifer. Now they're going to build a 1 million gallon concrete tank that's going to take that water away from the aquifer. So it's not, there's not a clear line of sight to this being an environmental project that we can support. And that was the ad hoc committee, a group of stakeholders in Studio City got together and did research on all of this. And I'm just remembering from my brain, a few of the problems that we saw with the project. So I really think you should go back to Harvard Westlake and tell them some of that, and I think this is not, and I also understand that about, I would say, the kids did a study at Harvard Westlake, and about, 59% of the kids were against the project for environmental reasons. So now it's just, the irony can't escape me,
I want to add on that a little bit, Adele, if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
Dennis, as you know, your organization has had a campaign, talking about cracking the concrete at Taylor Yard, and mostly the organization really has focused on those few miles in the Elysian Valley for as long as, forever. It's sort of like, welcome to the Valley. You can't sort of say crack the concrete at Taylor Yard and then say, double down in Studio City, man. It's all good. There's some green infrastructure happening. It's not a good look, and it shows you're not doing your due diligence. And we welcome you to have these conversations with people who live and work here, as you would with any other community. You would get to know the community before you came and offered your let us teach you things, right? It's a little upside down. So we would welcome a conversation with you about this site and the river in general in the valley, which is different than the river in the Elysian Valley. And I think we'd all welcome that conversation, but I don't think anybody here is excited to hear that Harvard Westlake is funding you for what sounds like a very large and long-term program that looks to be building out to many schools over many years and getting into workforce development like Northeast Trees has been doing for many, many decades, and sort of getting outside your comfort zone as an organization that sounds like there's a lot of money behind it. So it's really an uncomfortable thing. So I would recommend you go back to Marissa and the board or whoever you're allowed to talk to and just say, we need to put the brakes on, we need to back it up, we need to get to know the community before we come in and bring our gifts or what we think this community might want. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, go for it, Adele.
I have two hands raised, so I just want to, Chris?
Just a quick thing, Dennis, just so you know, I did actually some work at the Sepulveda Basin. I sort of worked with the steering committee there, and FOLAR was a presence there, and they did some really good things helping put together work crews to remove non-native plants and stuff. So just so it's not all negative, you know, at least my experience with FOLAR has been, you know, particularly good. So that's why, you know, for me, it's just like, wow, all of a sudden, it's kind of a different entity potentially if it's being funded by somebody that I don't support. So I just didn't want it to sound like a complete bummer, but my experience with FOLAR has been really good in the past, and I'd hate to see that compromised.
Chip? Chip?
I did see Dennis's survey. He sent it to me at the same time. He sent it to you, Adele, in the same email. And I think that might have softened the ground for you, that Dennis had people seeing that you're asking more open-ended questions than offering solutions. All of that said, as you can see, this has been going on for 20 years in a variety of guises. It's possible that in the DEIR, which is yet to be filed by Harvard-Westlake, many of the questions and objections the community has brought forth will be answered and satisfied. It's possible. But you are a little bit ahead of the Harvard-Westlake response to the community feedback. And that's one of the reasons why you suddenly feel like you're standing naked and alone. Welcome to the team. But, you know, we'll need to have more conversation about what's going on and what the opportunities are.
Well, I do want to say thank you, everybody, for your feedback, for your real concerns. Honestly, I'm just learning about sort of all of the things that are happening, and a lot of the information that y'all shared with me is a little bit new. So I do really want to say that I want to have this conversation. By no means is this us saying, let me teach you. It's let y'all teach me. You know, I'm here to listen. I'm here to hear your concerns, and I'm happy to facilitate conversations in between some organizations, but by no means do we represent Harvard-Westlake. But I do. Yeah, I think all of this information is really valuable, and I'm definitely going to follow up with Harvard-Westlake.
Great, great. And thank you so much for coming, Dennis, and not taking offense.
No, you know, I think everybody just has our communities in mind, you know, and we all want what's best for the people that live in our communities, and we all want what's best for, you know, our children, you know, our students. And I think that's really why I'm in education at FOLAR, and I am hoping to start this process so I can hear some of these things. It's going to be a little bit messy. It's going to be a little bit sticky, but, you know, I really think your input and your insight is essential to this project, you know, and our perspective is programming may or may not happen, and we really want to create the greatest amount of good with the situation that's possible. But
well, I'll be in touch with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, on separately. So,
Okay.
and I thank you for coming very, very much. Thank you so much, Dennis. I
Absolutely.
really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I did send you and Chip the survey. So if y'all have any thoughts, comments that weren't mentioned, or if you really want to emphasize a comment, feel free to include it in the survey. And Adele, I would really love maybe a summary of the information that you shared with me. maybe a summary of the ad hoc committee. So then I could pass those concerns over to Harvard Westlake. Like I said, by no means are we representing the actual site. I'm just sort of creating programming in all areas of Los Angeles, Studio City being one piece of the puzzle.
Well, summary of environmental issues in Los Angeles is, there is no such thing as a summary. It's huge. It's a huge project.
Oh, I meant
And,
the ad hoc committee that you were.
No, I know. I'm just saying, I was just referring to what your job is trying to create some kind of a curriculum around environmental issues in our city. And it's going to be,
I'm getting confused because Full Art has had an education program. I mean, Shelley developed, you know, there's been curricula developed and you have the bus and that you have, it's just like, are you recreating curricula? Are you getting rid of that and starting fresh with something else? I'm super confused.
Well, yes and no. We want to always seek input from our community. You know, I think we don't want to just have curriculum and have that sort of be the curriculum for the next 25 years. We want to consistently reach out to our community members and ask for input and advice. And we're really trying to include intersectionality and environmental justice deeply into all of our curriculum, which is another reason we're revamping it. But part of that involves community listening.
be careful what you ask for. Okay. Okay, we need to move on. Are there any other, thank you so much again, Dennis.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you all for having me. I appreciate your feedback.
Are there any other public comments on non-agenda items that anyone would like to share? George, would you like to share anything from CD4?
Hey, no, I think the community spoke for themselves, and I think that you know, we're just happy. I'm happy to have listened in to what you all had to say. So, you know, it's very much appreciated on my end.
Great. So if there's no more public comments, going once, going twice, we have agenda number 4, possible motion on council file 21-1467. And the way we're supposed to write these motions is not that we support or oppose, but that we support or oppose, and then we have to discuss and decide whether we are. So the Board of Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, supports or opposes the City Council motion that the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, in coordination with the Department of Recreation and Parks, be requested to report to City Council with a plan to identify and convert appropriate LAWD PD property into passive recreation and open space in compliance with Executive Directive hashtag or number 31. So I would like to open that up for discussion. And I do believe that Diana Nicole sent me an email. So she is saying I'll just, to start this off, what the hell? She's saying she opposes this motion because here's why. Achieving parks and park equity is a good thing for park poor LA, but it needs to be funded by existing revenues, which we already have for new parks and is now over $7 billion. Despite that $7 billion fact, this ordinance would allow the city to tax us. KCET did a big report on this years ago. City Controller Ron Galprin publicly shamed the city for not spending the funds already collected. I'm still waiting for the city to tell us where the $500,000 in Quimby fees developers pay for park recreation, a wealthy developer paid to the city for the destruction of a rare walnut woodland in Park Poor El Sereno went years ago. Diana. So that puts a spin on it. Any other comments or thoughts about the that motion, Melanie?
I feel like it might be premature to weigh in at this point. They're asking for a report back on which properties might be appropriate for passive rec. I'll give you some examples of properties that DWP has. Look, for instance, I don't know if you know of it as the Whitnall Highway. I was born in Burbank and grew up there for the first 9 years. So the transmission lines that go sort of northeast, starting in Burbank from the river up to the valley, it's called the Whitnall Highway. And the city has done a few things there. Dog park being one. We've got a dog park in North Hollywood, Studio City. There are some nurseries for the most part, or it's vacant. The power side of DWP is always saying, we don't want activities near our facilities, and there's always back and forth, but there are different facilities in the city that are owned by DWP and other city entities that are underutilized or could be purposed to provide passive rec or trails to communities or manage stormwater better or create habitat. So it's like, show us the list of properties you're looking at.
Mhm.
I didn't note, and I didn't read it carefully, I admit, that this was creating a new tax. It looked to me like, since it was referencing ED 31, it was just talking about using existing bonds that had already gone through with what we kind of call WHAM, Measure W, Measure H, Measure A, and Measure M in the parks bonds and things like that, to work with existing funds from those bonds and Quimby and other resources to try to increase actual park space instead of just fix existing ones. That's the way I looked at it, but I feel like it's premature for us to weigh in until we see what the report back is, if that makes sense, because they're going to have to get a report back before they take any action, and it takes forever anyway. So it doesn't seem like it's eminently critical. I'd kind of like to see what they're thinking. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Melanie. Chris, Chip, do you have anything?
Yeah, both Melanie and Diane's positions are interesting. It doesn't seem like it's going to hurt us to wait and get more information. I think getting more information on the funding piece of it, because I didn't see that either. I wasn't looking for it, but I didn't see that. And so we don't want to go headlong into give me more open space and be financially imprudent. So I think the questions that George is going to look at right now with regard to financial transparency will start to show us a bit of what's going on, at least in some of these areas with the Greenway and some of the other pieces. So I think we need to look and see what the financial mechanism is. I do think the financial mechanism is going to be, ephemeral until we actually know, abstract, until we actually know what the actual parcels are. Some could be nothing and some could be expansive requirements. So we may hate concrete infrastructure in one and love a dog park in another. So I think we would need to see a list, because I'm sure there's going to be some we love and some we hate. But I don't think it would hurt for us to say we're in favor of more open space, more green space, more recreation, all of that. And we think that the investigation, the analysis is well conceived and we support it.
I think, yeah. Do I have anybody else want to weigh in on that? Any other thoughts? I think that before we write any kind of a recommendation to go to the whole board, we need more information both on the funding and on the list of properties. That makes sense to me. Just to do diligence, and that can go in the CIS. Is it CIS or CSI? I'm so bad with acronyms. Community CIS. Yeah, so what could go into the CIS would be more information that we would absolutely request of the motion to add in, where the funding sources are and what the lists of properties are in particular, because I remember, Chip, you remember this, there is a piece of railroad track that the city wanted in I think Atwater Village, that the city wanted to take over, and the community didn't want them to, because they were just going to build like massive housing, and there was going to be no green, nothing green there. And so, you know, you've got to, I don't know, it just seems like, you know, we're having a problem in the city right now with our city being park poor. Not enough green spaces, not enough places for people to go and, you know, meditate or take a walk in some grass and see some birds. You know, there's just not enough of that in our city, and it's being taken away left and right. So I think we have to be due diligence. I think you're right. I think both you guys are right. We have to do diligence, but yeah,
Because I think you're right about the fact that we can't meditate on the grass, but if they come up and they put down 2,300 of those workout stations with pull-up bars and everything else in every square inch of open space, we're not going to be happy with that,
no.
which they might.
Yeah. So that there's, you know,
Well, it is supposed to be stipulated as passive instead of active. So there's that.
passive, yeah. Mhm. So we just need to, I think we need to do a little bit more research on that one, so. Do I have a motion to table that motion? Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Just, you can, yeah, everyone, yeah. Anybody
Aye.
not? Aye.
Aye.
Jesse, you good? So that was unanimous. And Lily, hi Lily. Good. Okay, so that was unanimous. We're tabling that motion. Okay, so this is number 5, discussion of composting program drop-off at farmers market. There is city funding to establish pickup and drop-off of composting stations at farmers markets. It is now or soon to be state law that all food waste be disposed of in the green bin for compost. Suggestion: to have the outreach committee collaborate with us on an educational campaign on composting. And then I included the LA Times article on the topic. I hope you all were able to read it. So I'm opening that up for discussion. Anybody?
I would love a one sheet, something to give to the board of directors of my housing cooperative that explains this new law as an opportunity for us to have gardening soil, make it our own. And also with locations of where composting can occur, and the suggestion that we dedicate space here as a housing association for that composting. And then we reduce the landfill in our dumpsters. An area, I'm not sure about other associations, but especially post-pandemic, you're right about the park space being important, green space. But we do have the space for that. So if we could create a one sheet to share with housing associations, I'm happy to help draft to make something for housing associations to get the point across.
Okay, it's a good idea. Chip.
Yeah, I read that article when it was in the paper and read it again, and I still find the article to be confusing. In the article, it talks about how different parts of the city are going to have different rollouts. So George, maybe you could help us with this and let us know where in this calendar that seems to roll in broad timeframes about first quarter, summer, like, you know, when are we supposed to do what? So if you could help us get the information, then we could actually have a program that would potentially educate the consumers. And I think we can talk about how to do that, talk to grownups like grownups. There are some questions that we had last calendar year that Lily's talking about. How does a single family home differ from an MDU in terms of how they're compliant? What if an MDU doesn't have the physical space? What do we do with all that? And then I think we should go like the Catholic Church and go for the children. I think what we need to do is have a, if we get the kids to understand and push their parents to compost and be aware of all of this, we can at the same time, go up to what Melanie talked about earlier with regards to water, saving water, saving light, do less. I mean, the general message can be wrapped around this new initiative on compost, but I'm still confused as what I'm supposed to do.
Adele, can I
Yeah,
go?
go
Okay.
ahead.
George, it would be really great to just give LA San a nudge. They seem to be struggling a bit lately from what I've heard from staff.
Yeah.
yeah.
This is great.
Give Barbara a little nudge there on, the public messaging on this needs to be aggressive and clear. It's an easy message, relatively speaking, for single family homeowners who have green bins. There's some convincing to do, there's some explaining to do, but when it comes to multifamily, now what, right? And what can be done on a community-wide basis? You have to dig around to find that the city is supposed to be looking at doing partnerships with some farmers markets in order to pick up that slack. But much of the city is multifamily, so we're going to have to figure that out. Getting the department to be clear in messaging on what these next steps are and to dedicate the funding to making these things happen. We tried to, a couple of years ago, we tried to have the conversation about using our farmers market as a green waste drop-off compost pickup site, but there was the old people going, compost is stinky, we don't want that at our farmers market. So it'd be great to be talking about what our alternatives are. New York City does that. You drop off your green waste and you pick up compost if you live in a multifamily unit, which most of the city does. So what can be done? And I would love it, George, if you could figure out who can nudge the department on that.
Just a word, I just sent you all pictures from the existing composting that's happening on the church on Moore Park at Whitsett. And it's a Studio City example. So we could, oh, thank you, whoever did that magic.
It's me.
You're so brilliant. So that exists now. Unless walker, pedestrian. So that's something we can share. That it's an example. The second picture shows the actual what it looks like, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. And the garden surrounding it is gorgeous. P.S.
Oh, wow, that's good. Here, I'll show you. There it is.
That's just the compost. I didn't include pictures of the garden, but the garden is a treasure. It's got all sorts of edibles, and the edibles are for the community there. It's artichokes, strawberries, lemons, oranges, you name it, pumpkin.
That's kind of great to have a little composting station. Yeah, it's helpful. Yeah. But that's that takes some doing. I mean, the farmer's market is not going to be able to do that.
So just so you know, it's not the farmer's market that would do it. It's LA Compost, which is a nonprofit that's been partnering with, a lot of folks, including ostensibly the city or the mayor's office, whichever, to set up these stations and create these things all over the city and to facilitate the pickup and the processing and the distribution and stuff. So LA Compost would be responsible for it. It would just be, the farmer's market would be a place that they would have a station where you can drop off and pick up. And they would process the green waste and bring some compost back. So it's not like
it
farmers
would be
market needs
nice
do
to,
something new, it's they just need to give these people a space, or we need to identify a space in Studio City where this can be done.
it would be nice to approach, so Chip, do you think it's realistic to approach our farmers market in Studio City?
I
I mean, there
think
is
that,
funding for it.
well, funding is always good because clearly patronage at the farmer's market's down substantially. And I know from that, I'm on the beautification committee, which is a subservient subsidiary of SCRA. And I know that the farmer's market revenue is down substantially. So there were some plantings we were going to do in calendar 22. We cannot. So I think looking for new revenue or revenue to do new programs would be of interest. I think that the new program is different from a composting program that some environmental agitator wanted to do a year or two ago. Now it's actually, don't get all uppity, now it's all part of, the city plan, and we need to know what we need to do to be compliant. So I think that probably changes the scenario enough that we should go in and absolutely bring up the idea. But I think it's better to go to them with a turnkey solution than go to them asking, what do you think? Would you help?
So that comes down to the relationship with LA Compost. And that's a conversation, George, we can work together on looking at, having a conversation with this committee, LA Compost, and the farmers market, maybe, like we'd like to help with this. How can this collaboration work?
I think what, Melanie, I think what would be great is for you to go with George to LA Compost and figure out what a plan would be, and then for Chip to go to because
market.
to go with a program.
Yeah, I'll definitely be the
Because that just would be the way. I mean, just knowing the players, that would be the way to do it.
and I'm wondering too if it's possible that even beautification could get behind this, because there's, there may legitimately, I mean, compost was part of the program, as I believe, prior to the pandemic, right? You could actually drop off your green waste, but you could also get mulch out of it.
Right.
So if there was a way to do that as well. So yeah, we should figure out, but I only think it's going to work from a turnkey standpoint.
Right. So you get the program. What can LA Compost do? Where the funds come from? Get all that set up first.
Yeah.
And then, what I think you could go with both beautification and the farmers market, because I think if people really get into composting, there's going to be a lot more than one station can handle.
Well, and I think that from a physical standpoint, and now we're getting into the tactics, so we're ahead of ourselves, but
Right.
there's a couple places to drive down to the open area adjacent to the river.
Yep.
Where there's no path, there's nothing. It's, it's just a bunch of overgrown oleander. You can literally drop off tons and tons and tons of mulch. So people could drive down, get it, and we could find a way to turn people around with a full trunk full of mulch. I think that would be easy enough to do. And while they're there should be bins for compost.
That would be great. That'd be great.
Right, so we could do it on the north side of the river, on the east side of Laurel, right, where that little pocket
Yes.
corner park is. I've just lost them, but I believe there's a service access down there with a paved ramp.
Not
Yes.
to burst your bubble, but that's county land, and so that would involve a whole negotiation with the county to work on the easement to do that. But it's not to say it's not impossible. I think it should be one of the sites that we would consider, but don't forget that easement is owned and controlled by the county and requires executed agreements to do things like that.
Oh, don't tell George it's hard. Basically, this evening seems to be the day where the newbies get thrown to the wolves without any background. So George, do that, would you?
No,
Thanks.
there's a whole lot of, we have a lot of options. That could be one of them. Just reminding you that that's county land and would require an agreement, but there are many options, and we could certainly use the mulch on these greenway and other sites in the community, not to mention community gardens and people's yards and getting people to get interested in growing food and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, we're paying for mulch through beautification, which drives me crazy.
And we could have our own. So this is super exciting. If we talk about, and this is something we can discuss as part of what we're going to do on the greenway stuff, but you know, if we are maintaining public open spaces and we keep those tree trimming, you know, other sort of things that go on in the neighborhood, you keep those in the neighborhood rather than trucking them over the hill to Santa Clarita somewhere. If the tree trimming that happens in Studio City goes into your compost in Studio City and stays in the community, we create our own mulch for our own beautification projects and our own greenways and our own gardens, right? Along with the food waste.
Well, that Greenway project, there's an area right there where you could have a great mulch station a lot, you know, between Laurel and I don't know.
Laurel and Witsit?
Yeah, but yeah, where Pete's Coffee is, before Pete's Coffee, there's a great place, and you have access to it through a parking lot.
We have a ton of space in that parking lot to do lots of cool things like this. And that's
that
part
would
of
be
what we want to talk about in the charrette. So
right. That would be great. That's really like star that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this goes along with the state's Healthy Soils Initiative, et cetera, et cetera. So, but I think getting back to what our initial motion was to try to start to look at ways we can work with outreach to develop some community education and awareness around this program as a neighborhood council, right? That both that and the new water regulations and stuff. So it would be a collaboration with outreach, and that would be something new for this neighborhood council. But I think that was the motion, was that we would consider a collaboration with outreach to educate the community through the neighborhood council, social media and other platforms on these two issues, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which actually sort of brings up another, I don't know if I'm running roughshod over my agenda, but Chris, Trent and I were talking about seeing if we could get a dedicated page to sustainability issues on the SCNC website, where we could put up, he has photographs, the most gorgeous photographs of birds, and Susan has the most gorgeous photographs of insects that live here in Studio City. And we could put photographs up of, even like a coyote, and do a little educational blurb about about coyotes, because people have really crazy idea about everything, about bees, about coyotes, about birds. And, so put up the photographs that Lily has been gathering, and both Susan and Chris take. And then also we could educate there about the water, the new water stuff and the new composting stuff. And we could start at least to have a presence on the website with some of the knowledge that we're gathering.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to talk, I see Brandon is here and he's raised his hand, and I was going to talk to you about this, Brandon.
He's raised his tail.
Right? Okay,
Raised his
Brandon.
bushy tail.
Yeah, the bushy tail. I actually had an email conversation with Kim Clements, our treasurer, today. The $2,500 that's going to be going to Web Corner to upgrade our website to the new SaaS system, she's actually working on right now. There was just a little, a delay because of the holidays and such. But hopefully that's soon, and we can upgrade to the same kind of system that, say, Tarzana, I believe in Tarzana, Encino, and Studio City all have. And if that's the case, then each committee will have their own dedicated page. And I know some neighborhood councils use that page as a mini website. So if you guys want me to I have access to the website right now. So you guys want me to put something up, let me know and I'll just throw it up there.
Okay, I'm going to get Chris to send you a photograph, maybe two, one of a insect and one of a bird.
Okay.
And yeah.
regarding the outreach, which I'm chair of, I would need more information, some detailed and final information from the city. It sounds like it doesn't sound like everything's set in stone just yet. It sounds like they're going to do it, but they don't quite know exactly how they're going to do it.
Well, the
If-
composting thing becomes law as of the 1st of what, Melanie?
January, it's already
Jan- Oh, well, it's already.
Does,
So,
is LA Sanitation running it? Is it running through LA Sanitation?
yes.
Do they have an infographic or a one sheet that we can access right away, or are they still putting it all together?
They're a hot
that-
mess is what they are.
That's what?
They're a hot mess, she said.
Tell me something I don't know.
So,
But if they have anything on their website, if they have any kind of information, usually city departments will have some kind of cool infographic that I can put that on Facebook anytime. I could do it right now if you have one. But I'm working with Randy to try to get Twitter access as well as Instagram access as well. If that's the case, then Facebook and Instagram would be linked, and then I'll also put it on Twitter and our website page. So yeah, send me what you've got, and I'll throw it up on the website ASAP.
okay.
And are you the person who, if we have cool graphics or infographics, that we would send them to you and you would be able to post on the socials if they got cleared?
Yes,
Cool, that's good to know. This
as
is,
long as the infographics are it's finalized. It's not something that's going to be changed. I mean,
yeah,
it'll be from the city's mouth, correct? That it's the final word. This is how we're doing it, and this is what you have to do, correct?
well, the city needs to do that. But I mean,
Right.
if this committee wanted to put something together that said, this is, this is the new state law. If you have a green bin, here's how you do your thing. If we wanted to do a riff on that, you probably are on that list, but I emailed the LA Times cartoon. LA
Okay.
Times published a cartoon on teaching people how to do this kind of stuff. If we wanted to create, using Canva, create some fun infographics on the new state law on water conservation or the new city state law on green bin stuff, if we wanted to, given that the city SAN hasn't done anything, if we wanted to provide that as a neighborhood council, as long as it's legal and honest, you're the one that we would send that to.
Yes, you send it to me, and I don't know if I have to vet it through Randy and Scott. I would probably share it with. I would. You should send it to me, maybe through Adele. Copy Randy on it so he can have some input. Since he's the president, he would have to have a say in it. But generally, yeah, no problem. If it is what it is, if it comes directly from the city, I see no problem. I can just post it anytime you want me to.
And I'm thinking it might be, if we're trying to do better on the socials, having things like a little biodiversity corner every now and then, like Lily and Chris's photographs. Here's some Studio City biodiversity. Look at this, great bird, or, here's a tip on coyote, living with coyotes. We could create fun graphics for you to boost the SCNC's social media presence with things that are relevant to the community, right?
Yeah, as we were talking this in outreach last Thursday, as long as there's no political slant.
As long as nobody thinks that biodiversity is political, we're good.
Right. No, in terms of any posting, we're trying to get ahead of the digital communications policy that they may be voting on in March. We're trying to keep our posts as neutral as possible, obviously, and I don't think there would be anything through the sustainability committee that would be egregiously political. It's just about conservation. It's about taking care of your environment. But
you don't know us well enough, but I think we can limit ourselves. We can limit ourselves.
Look,
to
I have
that.
a squirrel as an avatar, okay, so I do know you guys well enough. I always put a smile on your face. But
Well, before I go, Chris, Brandon, before I go to George, he's got his hand raised. I just want to note that the website still has the old committee up there. None of us are on there.
I will change that right now.
Okay. And you have all of our names and everything correct spelling, I hope.
I
And-
have your agenda right here, so I'll
Okay,
just
right,
work off the
right,
agenda.
right. Okay.
Okay.
George, you have your hand up. You've been patiently waiting.
Hi. Yeah. I'm already learning so much. I don't even know what to say. This is great. I wanted to be respectful of like your procedures and everything. So I wanted to get some clarity on, I'm already typing up an email to see if we can get more like information, more like infographics, more details about this new program that's going to roll out from LA Sanitation. So would it be ideal to send it to Adele and then you send it all to your folks, or would you want me to mass email it to you all? I just want to know like what you would all prefer.
You could send it, if you, do you have everyone's email?
I don't. That would be my
You know
next
what?
question.
Send me an email. I'll send a mass email and to everyone, and then you can, I'm cool with you mass emailing. I mean, if everyone else is fine with that. Yeah, okay.
Great, great. Yeah, I also have a newsletter that I send out every week. So if in case you want to sign up for that, then I'll send you an email with all those
Oh,
relevant
that'd be great.
information.
No, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
of course.
Fantastic. Yep.
A really quick, Adele, I'm actually on the website right now. What part is needs to be changing? Because I'm looking at your committee page. I have Adele, Lily, Alexander, Chris, Susan, Jesse, Chip, Melanie, Randall.
Oh, and then Diana Nicole.
Okay, I'll add that right now.
But I don't, someone went on the page and said it was still Reduca.
No, Raduca's not here. I changed it a while back.
That's weird. Oh, that guy Dennis, I guess. I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll add her right now.
Okay, awesome. That's great. And then yeah, and then if we can get our own page and we'll start posting stuff, that would be great. Do we have the ability to post stuff, or do we have to send it to you?
Currently, you have to send it through me because the only two people that have admin access to the website is Randall and myself.
Okay.
But hopefully,
Okay, so then we'll do then Lily and Chris and Susan, and maybe also Alex. Are you there, Alexander?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Because he has a composting program that he is working on, that's more of a private, but kind of awesome program. And we could, I don't know, we'll have to figure out how to do that without like being proselytizing or anything, but.
Well, I can also update you all on some things that I'm working on that's not private at all. It's with Cal Recycle and with Californians Against Waste in Sacramento. My work right now is with the two largest label makers who provide the little labels that go on all the fruits and vegetables that you have to deal with. If you're really going to take plastic, you're supposed to remove those labels to really call these things that we're putting in a compost green waste without plastic. Sinclair label out of Fresno, and they also are in the UK, have 70% of the world's labeling business, as well as the machinery that they lease. I am actually with them next week, I think, with some folks from Californians Against Waste, working on their largest customers and their new compostable labels, of which I have some here in my home. I'm working with testing, as well as the bags with Crown Poly and with another company that is pushing the envelope on the green bag that you put your fruit and vegetables in, and these stickers that go on them. We're trying to make all that disappear, not just in a dehydration technology, which I believe in thoroughly, both for residential and commercial, but also to meet the standards at the different standards that are out there right now for companies to hit with the different numbers they're supposed to come up with. So anyway, I'll be reporting back, in on that in the weeks to come.
Cool.
Yeah.
So they're working on, let me just get this straight. They're working on compostable plastic bags.
Well, absolutely. They're out there right now. I use them every day. They're in your stores. When you guys
Oh, the ones that I use for my dog that are compostable.
No. When you go to Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Gelson's, Ralph's, you're going to see one day and then another day, two different bags. And they're both from Crown Poly. One, because sometimes it'll say post-consumer plastic, and the next day it'll say home compostable. That is an actual bag that is available now at the supermarket. If you take that home and run it in what's called the food cycler, it shreds nicely, disappears nicely. And I have a lot of them buried in my backyard, half and half chewed up by the machines that I stop midway to see what they do in the dirt, and then fully chewed up in the machines that I use, this food cycler, as well as just watching the worms go through them. They all come from a Novamont plant in Italy. The material that's used to make these bags. Crown Poly is the largest company in the bag business. And I am working directly with folks there on their ability to make that bag even much more compostable with BPI, which is the organization that has pretty much reign over what is hitting a mark that Cal Recycle requires that materials hit, in order that they work well in all the places that our bags and our stickers are ending up. I'm also working with wastewater treatment plant folks on their input as stakeholders in the little sticker issue, so that the stickers also hit a certain level of compostability, so that they are not a problem in the wastewater treatment world as well.
Great. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
Chris Trent, you had a question?
Just a quick thought. So we might be getting ahead of what's going on at the webpage or whatever, but it would be great to see actual photos of gardens created with the compost mulch. And that kind of be, instead of reading a bunch of text or, something from the city or whatever that most people aren't really going to be that interested in reading, but seeing an actual photo, this is what you get. Maybe somehow we could get photos of actual gardens in Studio City that have been made from recycled, compost or whatever, and use that as the hook, and then some text under it or something.
Great idea. Great idea. So you know what I think what we need to do is form a committee of people who could put together a one sheet on composting, a one sheet on the water program, and then a separate group to put together photographs for the website and ideas for because what we don't want to do is have a static website. It needs to change, pretty regularly, even if it's, I don't know, if it's once a week or once every 2 weeks for a while until we can get something really going. I'm happy to work on any of that, all of that, but I need someone to sort of, Melanie, can you take the lead on the water issue? Is she there? She's cooking her food. How do you feel about doing the water issue, or do you feel better about the compost?
I can help with either. It's easy. You just do a Canva and put up something cute in the words.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to make you do all of it. Alex, do you want to do the compost thing?
Yes, I could get involved. I just want to mention to everybody, I am also involved with a pilot program at Mercado Paloma. It is a group of 16 restaurants under one building downtown. I don't know if anybody knows the location and these wonderful Latino restaurants, but they're all under one umbrella organization run by a wonderful woman who's receiving a grant to try technology that will reduce food in a matter of hours, including things that you can't normally consider compostable, and then take it all into a soil amendment that Michael Martinez and LA Compost has committed to also then deal with that, and then take that as an opportunity to look at that pilot program. So I just want to share that.
Cool. Great partnership.
Yeah.
So if you work on a one sheet, Alex, for the composting program, what is law and what is required of people and how we're going to go about, just to start. And Melanie works on the water issue. And then Chris and Susan and Lily pulled together some photographs and some ideas of how we want to educate people about the critters in our neighborhood. And then we've got Brandon doing the redoing the website. I think that's a lot. That would be a lot to get done in the next month before the next
Great.
meeting.
That'd be
Sure.
great. Show some activity and have a presence. I love it.
Yeah, show some, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm working on.
Brandon, I'm
You
glad
know
you
what,
were here
too,
tonight.
you know, it'd be great, George, I keep wanting to call you Jorge, sorry. You know, what'd be great, George, is if you would to send us a little photo of yourself and a bio, we could put you up as our, is that weird? Would that be weird? I don't mean to be weird.
No. There's
It'd be
a.
cool.
Have you been on the Council District 4's website?
No. Mm-mm.
It has my picture and it has a bio of me, so you can just copy and paste those.
Or, yeah, okay, that's great. Maybe we'll do that and put you up and say, hey, welcome to the hood. I don't know if you
That's
should be
funny.
welcoming us or we should be welcoming you. I'm not sure which way it goes.
Funny. That'd be great. Yeah, no, I'm totally okay with that. You have my permission.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, so now we're on to, sorry. Oh, I don't know if we have any update on Sunswept Place, except that, sorry, I'm just writing myself a note. Except that their construction was stopped, and because it was illegal construction, they did not have permits for that. I don't know, you know, because we're changing over, George, from Paul Krikorian to Nitya Raman. I don't know if you know about Sunswept and if there has been a requirement by the developer, Peter Austin, to prepare a DEIR because he's planning on taking down a woodland that is filled with toyon, about 50 some toyons, 50 some California live oak, and a handful, I don't know how many, California coast, I'm sorry, black walnuts, and then a few California live oak. So there's 55 black walnuts. And you know, he has not done his due diligence about, because, you know, California black walnuts are supposed to be replaced 5 to 1. And if there's 55 trees and 5 to 1, that is a lot of trees. So our concern is that he is basically started construction without permits and has already caused some damage to the trees and to the ground there. And yeah, it's just, it looked a little suspicious, the whole thing. So we don't know, you know, I do believe Caro Tarosian was talking to them and telling them that they couldn't do this and they needed to, you know, go through the proper channels. But I don't know. And if you could look into that, that would be great, because our concern is that these trees are not being properly documented or cared for. Anybody else? Chip, do you have anything more on that? You're still muted though. There you are.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. And I'm listening to us talk to George and try to bring him up to speed. And I'm realizing that I'm kind of fractured on this as well, because there are 5 proposals for development from Coldwater to Laurel.
Yeah.
They all have implication for sustainability, traffic, basic habitat. But is that our world? Is that land use? How do we start to get would it make sense if the neighborhood council had a list of, these are projects have a land use implication, projects have a sustainability implication. You know, there should be some master list of development that we could look at So we could, one, find like the asshole that started taking a bulldozer to the wall, I mean, to the hill without, anyone's approval, as if that was okay. So we need to find the bad actors, but there's probably best practices out there someplace else that it would be more important that we export to the other projects.
But I think this is a question for Randy. This is whether or not he will allow different committees to collaborate on issues, whether or not he believes that sustainability is an important issue when it comes to land use and development, which I don't believe he does. But it makes sense for any land use proposal to also have sustainability input in a modern, realistic world. I'm not sure that that's where this neighborhood council president feels it appropriate to have sustainability input when we're talking about high-end development.
I think it's our job to bring that to the attention of the neighborhood council and to the city council as well. Right now between, as you know, Witsit and Laurel Canyon, there is already the Sportsman's Landing was built. And there was a huge car accident last week, huge, very bad, where someone was turning left and a Jaguar was bolting down the hill from Beverly Hills into the valley and rammed into a car. And I don't know yet if there are any fatalities on that. And there have been many videos of people sort of going north. I'm really bad with direction, but I think I can get this right. North towards down Coldwater, and then suddenly deciding, oh, I'm going to turn right into Erewhon with someone hot on their tail. There's this one video, and the guy in a truck is yelling at the guy who turned left, and it was uber dangerous because he did it last minute and probably didn't have a blinker on. I didn't see, but there's, already we're having traffic implications from the construction of Sportsman's Landing, and there was supposed to be a dedicated right-hand turn lane, but it would have required this city to build 5 feet more, and the gas station didn't want to give up any of their land, and so the city ended up saying, well, we'll just paint lines, and it isn't working, and it's quite dangerous. It's become quite dangerous there. And if you think now, next door, Sportsman's, they want to build a 600 plus apartment condo unit there. Then from the bowling alley, I don't know if you know this area, but there's an old bowling alley that's been there forever, Jorge, and to Witsit, they want to do a mixed use apartment all the way up and down there. And then across the street is where this guy, Austin, is killing the black walnut woodland. So it's like all of a sudden Studio City is going to become, a corridor of apartments and mixed use buildings. And there's no looking into the traffic mitigation. And then what Harvard Westlake is proposing will also add to the traffic. So now we've got basically a parking lot here. And, I don't think that sustainability committee or anybody in LA is against development, but we're against bad development. And bad development means when you don't have mitigation and you're not looking at what's going to happen to the lives of the people who live there. And, and we're not thinking about how do we protect our green open space, and how do we have a balance between apartment buildings, mixed use buildings, and, and green space, and recreational green space, and park space. So how are we, how is city planning, thinking about all the elements, not just one of the elements?
So on that, I'll put it in that email chain that we had again, but if you're not aware of the Ventura specific plan.
Yes, I did go and fill out that
Right, so that
Okay.
for those who don't know, there's surveys out there for each of the 13 areas in the Ventura Boulevard specific plan. And I think 3 of them are in Studio City, at least. So I'll put it in the email chain. So for those of you who haven't filled that out, you can go in and weigh in on that. And that's one way. And that sort of connects back down to another issue you were talking about with traffic fatalities. Traffic calming is key. And that's another committee that we have in Studio City. The question becomes, do we want to make life easier and more convenient for automobiles to go quickly? Or do we want to have pedestrian-oriented, safe communities with fewer traffic fatalities? And those are policy choices and they're design choices. And when you're reviewing developments, those things become issues. Are you trying to make the development easier for cars, or are you trying to make the development safe and healthy for the community? And that's when sustainability, it's not just transportation and land use that have to weigh in. We have to have a conversation where these voices come in. And looking at the future of Ventura Boulevard, if Ventura Boulevard had slower speeds on it and had, if the buses along Ventura came every 5 minutes faithfully and had bike lanes, and we had protected bike lanes in Studio City, and the cars couldn't go more than 30 miles an hour on Ventura Boulevard, and we had more tree canopy on Ventura Boulevard, then you probably wouldn't notice if we had some residential development over some of the commercial, So thinking about things comprehensively rather than as one issue or another helps us get to a better future, I think. But I'm going to email you all if you haven't weighed in on the specific plan with the lens of sustainability and climate in mind.
But if you have, the thing about that is if you have more tree canopy, you're not going to build buildings as tall. You'll have the buildings, but you won't overbuild them. Those kinds of things, it's all a balance, So yeah, that's good. And you should go in and fill in the surveys.
Yep.
Alex, you had a comment?
No, I'm done. No, I'm good.
That was old. Okay.
Yeah, that was old.
Oops.
Any other comments about the Sunswept project? Any other?
I did notice that one of their signs fell over in the recent windstorms and got impaled on
A black walnut?
on a metal stake, and I thought that was hilarious.
I saw that too. It was really
Yeah.
funny. Yeah. And the other discussion is Sportsman's Lodge. And I didn't know if we talked about this, they're talking about removing 89 trees. And I don't know if there is any action that we can take, or is, what can we do to encourage them not to do that? Beside the fact that they want to build a building that's the size of the White House there. It's 94 feet high.
Is there some way that we can shame them on social media, like a hit list, 89 trees, Sportsman's Lodge who is removing our trees? Who's removing the canopy? For each development, for each new building, they're taking out the old growth. And if we had a running hit list, like I hear in people's alternate reality, they post things on Facebook when they're upset at something at Vaughn's or whatever. And that's like, the social media managers are on it. But if we could have like a shame list, who is removing the trees?
Well, I think that goes back to what Brandon was talking about, is that you have to be not political.
Yeah, we can't do that as a committee.
We can't, that's too.
There's no way to just say 89 trees are being removed by Sportsman's Lodge
Well,
development.
are proposed. They
Oh,
haven't got the, hopefully,
Right.
I can dream, but I think you have to find a way to word it, and Brandon might help us with that.
Ask them to
Um,
be champions of trees. They have an opportunity to save 89 trees and benefit the community.
Yeah, they could, they could build around it.
Yeah.
Speaking
So-
of which, on this bit, it's not a question on the survey, but the Ventura Boulevard specific plan. We have this thing about our identity being tied up in palms. And at some point, we're going to have to decide that that's not super helpful.
They're not palm trees that they want to take down, by the way.
No. I'm not suggesting they don't, who in the world would consider taking out a palm? My goodness, let's plant 50 more. There's been this discussion that that's our identity in Studio City, is that we have Ventura Boulevard, it's lined with palms. Well, super cool for last century, but we kind of need shade now.
Yeah.
So that's whenever a development comes up, they're required to plant palms along the boulevard, and it's not helping us. And so that's another thing that we as this committee can weigh in when the neighborhood council. But that's something that's in the specific plan. It's a minutia, but it's something that we probably should raise with planning about the Ventura Boulevard corridor specific plan. That whole iconic Studio City palm tree symbol, it ain't helping us.
Well, how about this? Palm trees are not the only stars on our walk of fame. And feature the other trees.
Palms aren't trees, by the way, but okay.
I know. Thank you.
Anyway, it's getting late and I went off topic, but
So Chris had his hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, so that new huge building that Sportsman's is proposing to build, isn't that also supposed to go all the way, like right up to the LA River edge too? Isn't that going to interfere in the whole greenway and block sunlight to the native plants and stuff too? I mean, there's more than just the trees being taken out that's a problem with that concept, right?
Oh yeah, they want to, I'm just saying, they want to take out 89 trees. They want to go down to the river, which is actually not done anywhere, and build I think a 3-story parking garage underground. And then on top of that will be this 600 plus condo building. The reason they're getting, and this is something I would like, I don't know that much about, but the reason they're getting the exceptions is because they're providing in that 600 and plus, I think 48 low income housing, low or medium to low. So that allows them to get more height to the building. I think that's a problem with, since the height on Ventura Boulevard is 30 feet. That's the allowable height. Now they're getting 94 feet, which is
Right.
a lot fucking more, sorry. So, although it is quote unquote legal, it is probably unethical,
Right. I mean, this is probably getting way off target or whatever, but
that's
and then
more,
again, who
those
monitors?
Those are probably land use issues. And sustainability issues would be, do we have the infrastructure for that many, that much, growth there? Do we have the infrastructure for, in terms of, sewage and water, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, and it's a lot of concrete with a lot more carbon, and
Right.
if it blocks the sun half the day from all the plants that are on the greenway in the river, so everything affects everything.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
just one other thing too, quick back on the other topic about the Sunswept project. Did you watch the land use meeting with Mr. Austin? That's his name, I believe.
Yeah.
So one of his new or new to me aspects was that he said that the city has sort of declared that area as a potential landslide hazard. So he's coming in and saving that part of Ventura Boulevard by fixing it and putting the stone wall up so it can't possibly be, a landslide issue anymore, which Diana chimed in and said, basically, that's the entire situation with all of the Santa Monica Mountains. So that's really a moot, silly point. But, it's this weird jockeying to try to find, the way through the hole in the fence. And you can see that.
Do they still do EIRs, environmental impact reports?
Well, he hasn't done one yet,
Yeah.
so we're trying to, that's why we're asking George if he could make sure that it's required for him to do an EIR before he does one more bit of construction.
And why would it not be required?
Why would it not be? Exactly.
Well, didn't Paul's office make that demand and give him a cease and desist?
I don't think it was Paul's office. I think it was the city who gave him the cease and desist.
And that was just for that day, though. That wasn't for the overall project, was it?
It's for now. It's
Okay.
still, I think it's still up. The cease and desist order is still up on the fence, but I don't know. I mean, and that's where something George has to look into is if the city council has told him that he has to do an EIR, a DEIR. And George, I'm sorry, you've had your hand up for a while. I would like to recognize you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I will look into it. I'll touch base with our planning department to see if they have had any communications with the developers on this lot. So I should get that information to you fairly quickly if they have or have not, at least. But before I do that, I try to look for your email. I wasn't able to find any. So if you want to maybe share it with me either right now or just shoot me an email afterward, just so we have that direct line of communication, that would, I would appreciate that a lot.
Okay, I have to get my proper email because I'm really bad at this. What am I? I'll shoot you an email after this.
Yeah, no worries. Just want to make that clear in case you were waiting for an email from me, but didn't receive anything.
No, I was going to email you after and do a group email with everybody. Yeah,
that'd be fantastic.
Okay.
I do have to hop off right now.
Yeah, we've got to end ourselves. We're trying
yeah.
But go ahead. Thank you so much for coming, George. And we'll see you soon.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to be involved with such a very fantastic group, sincerely. I've been to a lot of neighborhood meetings. This is really great. This one has been fantastic, really. So thank you all for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay. Bye. So Melanie, what can we do in terms of of making that suggestion about those 89 trees? Is there anything that we can do
at this point?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, are they not coming to land use?
They came to land use. They had maybe one of the slickest reports I've ever seen in my life.
And
their architect was like top drawer.
Has land use taken a position?
Land use pushed back on the project somewhat. I pushed back on the 89 trees. I mean, like, why don't you build around them? And the guy sort of looked at me like I was, Chinese or something. I didn't mean that way. That's terrible. I didn't strike that as if I were an alien. Oh, well, that is worse. Okay, so I'm just not going to get out of it.
We're Greek to him.
From Mars.
Mars, as if I were just not. I don't know. He was the architect was as slick of an architect as I've ever seen. And were you there, Chip? You were not. I think that Lisa Kay pushed back. Were you there, Chris? No, I think she pushed back a little bit, but I don't know how much she pushed back. I don't know. It was just like alarming how much they had greased the wheels.
Well, I suppose we could reach out and ask that, you know, I mean, before the neighborhood council comes in and weighs in any more on this, that we be part of the conversation as a committee so that we can make sure that if the neighborhood council comes out with something, that it includes our concerns about those specific things. Other than that, we just have to wait for the EIR.
All right.
Unless
maybe
Chip has a better idea. Chip, you seem to have relationships with these folks.
Well, I do, and I've been around on enough of these boards that people want me to come see their plans. And that's one of the reasons why I'm asking, like, what do we need to do to get a comprehensive look at the development from Coldwater to Laurel, or better yet, from Fulton to Lancashire? Because, I mean, these guys with Sportsman's Landing and whatever else the other piece is going to do. And I think you're right, Adele. I think your numbers are off a little bit, or at least they were from the ones I saw. I was impressed with the number of subsidized units they were going to have in the apartments, not condos. And I thought it was substantially more than a rounding error, having them give up more of the units for low income, but for the very reason you talked about. But I thought it was almost 100 of them that were going to be, no, guess.
48. No, it was definitely like,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
was
that's
the
not
bare
even.
minimum so they
Yeah.
could get the height
And
requirement.
how do they
But-
define affordable housing? It's, there are other projects that they guarantee affordable housing and then the units are not affordable housing.
There's a standard. I mean, and these are going to be apartments. They're not going to be condos. They, at this point, have told me when I saw the plan that they weren't going to sell them. But there's no trees. I mean, from Coldwater, you take a look at that retail area, like the oak, there is this water feature that goes through, and there's a couple specimen trees in large plantings, but those don't count, right? I mean, so you start taking a look at all this development. We're losing all the trees that are currently there. This one particular slope is critically important because it's the only place that hasn't been raised, you know, on the south side of the river. So we need to see what the whole piece is, because someone's going to develop something and there's going to be offsets. What do we want the offsets to look like? Like, we don't want it to be 5-gallon oak trees that are sprinkled around. So we would need to have a more comprehensive idea of what the urban forest looks like, from Moore Park to Ventura, from Fulton to Radford or Colfax or something. So we can figure out a larger stretch of real estate to have a more comprehensive solution.
Well, I
Maybe
know this,
the specific plan, maybe we should invite the planning guy to come and talk to us before they finalize the.
That's a great idea.
that
specific
is a
plan.
great idea. Do you
'Cause
know
their
who that
work
is?
was-
Yeah,
You know who that is, Melanie?
I think it's Miles. I haven't talked to him in a bit.
Oh,
but I-
Miles. Or he's awesome. I don't, yeah, you can invite him. You want to? You want to do that?
Sure.
Because I don't think that the specific plan was done in a moment when they had the knowledge of this level of development, although I think it was sort of inferred, right? Wasn't that part of Ventura nominated for heavy development in this plan because of its access to mass transit?
Well, there's been talk about building above the retail on Ventura Boulevard for many years, and Studio City Residents Association sort of made their chops by pushing back against that 25, 30 years ago. The
Mhm.
question is, are we still going to live in that world, or do we have to envision a different one? And what sort of trade-offs does that entail? And do we have what it takes to envision a future that's livable here?
Mhm.
If we maintain the status quo, if we remain protective of what we have, that comes with continually increasing temperatures and extreme climate events. And the trade-off is, do you want to keep the lifestyle or do you want a habitable planet? So we have to think outside of what's possible. It's like, I think we're used to the reality of the developers come in and they build crap and it's bigger than it needs to be, and we don't get the concessions that we haven't figured out how to demand, and we don't know how to look at the big picture. And it behooves us to accept that there need to be fewer cars on the road if we're going to survive, which means we have to have better public transit. We need more open space if we're going to survive, which means land that's given over to parking and other kinds of things are going to have to be transitioned to open space, and we have to fight for that. We have to have more biodiversity, and there has to be more housing. So how do we balance all that? We can't just push back against housing. There has to be housing.
Yeah, but
and it has to be near transit. And so how do we make these things work together? And rather than fighting against the things we've always fought against, how do we paint the vision for a new future and do it along the Ventura Boulevard corridor?
But I think the problem right now is that the mixed use development, which would answer many of those questions, as it's envisioned by the developers, are all completely devoid of any kind of urban canopy.
Right.
I mean, so, and they point across the river to, there's the Zev Greenway, there's, like they're pointing at other people's parcels for the open space.
Right.
And honestly, the Sunswept guy is probably better at providing open space than some of the other projects that we've seen. And if it weren't for the fact it's the only remaining oak, walnut
woodland, right?
Yeah, it's the only piece that's left.
And the vegetation is the best thing at keeping a hillside from falling down.
Right. Although some cement there, Melanie. I think you're short-sighted, some guy. But I mean, this is why I think we need to have a look at holistically what is being planned. Because maybe one of those lots needs to be purchased by the city and turned into open space and completely treed.
Well, and don't forget, I don't know if anybody noticed it, you probably didn't, but the LA Times editorial board came out in favor of floodplain reclamation on December 30th, which was for me super exciting after 20 years of speaking into the void. But that, that's something we can leverage when we're talking about these developments, be they Harvard Westlake or the Sportsman's Landing, pushing into what is floodplain and saying, well, there's trees over there, as their justification. These are functioning systems.
Well, what kills me, one of my questions is, they want to build deep into the basically into the water table, to put parking lots in underground. And those parking lots are going to flood. They're going to have to be pumped out constantly. They're going to go into the water table and take away our water. It's like not a good, I can't imagine the Army.
There'll be a brand new dive called Sinkhole.
Yeah. Well, what they have been doing with the developments that do underground parking into the water table, when we have years where we have a water table that comes up that high, like 2006, for instance, I was talking to a developer who's doing a thing down the street here, and he was telling me about a project he was doing around the last time we had the water table rise up. And they were planning to do the pump and dump, which is when you pump out, you have to consistently pump out the groundwater so that you can have your parking garage. And they used to put it into the gutter, and now you have to repurpose it. But he said they were planning on doing that, and then the next drought hit and it was no longer a problem. And I was looking at him like, and you think that's going to be a permanent condition? So you went ahead and built that without facilities to pump the groundwater table? Super cool. This is, our efforts are to recharge the groundwater basin so we have a local reliable water supply. And we're doing projects to do that. So anybody who's building an underground parking garage that comes anywhere near within 10 feet of the water table needs to be, that's something that needs to be considered. Where the water table is today after a long drought is not where the water table is going to be in 10 years after we get have a rainy period, and then we start doing serious work on recharging the groundwater basin, be it with rainfall or with recycled water supplies. So, you have to, what happened in the last century is not going to be happening in the next one. So.
Right.
Jesse, you've been talking too much this entire time.
I'm here. I'm alive.
We're happy about that.
Listening. That's what I'm doing.
So number 7, update on the funding from Studio City Neighborhood Council. My update is I looked at the application and it freaked me out and I didn't do anything about it. I think what I need to do is talk to Randy and whoever else, Brandon, and find out if it's possible for us to actually get some funding to do some projects, some educational projects. And do I have to enumerate the projects, or can I just ask for a bunch of money and then we get to spend it however we want? I just have to do a little bit more research and I haven't done it. So that's my update. Do you want to update on the calendar, Lily?
Well, there's no update on the calendar, but it's not being done. But I have collected the photos. I have lots of lovely photos that we can assemble, and I've been collecting the that we can get out on our page, the Facebook page or
The website. Yeah, that's a good idea.
And I've been gathering any of the educational materials, like the charts about the trees or infographics, basically like what I learned this year through this committee. All the little gleaning of like the nuts, right? So, and I can help you with the budget. Maybe we can sit down together, look at the application, and figure out how to approach it.
That would be great.
Kind of flaked on. I apologize for falling off the planet.
Everyone did. It was called Christmas or December. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Let's email each other and make a time to meet up and talk about it. That'd be great. See what any comments by anybody who has not spoken? Jesse and Susan, you have any comments? Oh, Patty Kirby is here in the house. Go ahead.
I just
Patty.
wanted to make a comment about the budget. What you need to do is you need to define what you want to have budget. You need to put a price on it, and you need to fill out a form that goes to the budget committee. And then the budget committee has a meeting on it and you present, and they either push it on to the board or not.
So we need a specific project, not just like we want $5,000 to do 5 things.
Yeah, no, they will never go for that. You have to fill out the form.
That's
It's
why
on the website.
that's why I got overwhelmed, because I thought they're never going to go for asking for
No, no, no.
5,000.
Yeah, you have to say I want 5,000. I want $2,500 to plant 35 trees. You
Right.
know, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thanks.
Nice meeting you guys. It's really nice to see all the involvement. Hi, Melanie.
Hey, Patty, it's good to see you again. Great shot.
Jesse, you have anything you want to say? I don't want to leave you out.
I agree with everything that's been said. I think having a holistic viewpoint is really important. And I think as much as we can, and hopefully I can try and help with this, is looking at, like others were saying, from say Fulton to, Lancashire, Ventura, what's happening, what's coming in, what's going to be removed, how can we look at this big picture? I think that's, kind of trumps everything we do on a project basis, looking at this bird's eye.
By the way, you should all come to Wednesday night as the land use committee. They're going to talk about a huge development on Colfax and Ventura Boulevard that is going to be a senior citizens home and right along the river there. And then I think 12 condos or so. I think there are 3 or 4 story condos and then parking lots along the river. Yeah, you should come. If you want me to send you the agenda, just write me an email. I'll send you the agenda over, and it's got links to all this. It's like a massive project, massive. So I think there's a restaurant there, Jinkies.
Jinkies. Oh, it's that parcel where the corner thing there with Jinkies and then all those auto shops. How far back is it?
Gone.
How far east?
I think there's an art. No, not that far. It's actually kind of a small little corner, but it's the whole thing. So it's the restaurant and the car dealership. I don't know how far down it goes because then there's the enterprise rental is down there. I don't think it's that far.
There's like 2 different car properties after the.
Yeah, both. I think it's both of those car properties and the restaurant. And it's going to have like a little center for the old people to go. And then the people in the condos will be able to have access to some of it. Yeah, it's a huge project.
I just right at Tahunga and Colfax.
Hold on. Let me just pull it up. I think that's
all I want to say is when the Tahunga wash hits the LA River, if we get an atmospheric category 5 that stalls out over the northeast San Gabriel's, Tahunga wash can flood, right? And if it's depending on the timing between Sepulveda and Big T and Hanson, our neighborhood could flood, but certainly at the confluence of Tahunga and Colfax, that's just not a place where you want to be putting new development, right? And there is an elevation there up above the river and all, but I don't know, man.
I think
It
you
makes me
mean
nervous.
Colfax and Ventura, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tahunga is for.
Oh no, the Tahunga wash. So the Tahunga wash hits the LA River just west of Colfax.
And that's the Tahunga Wash is the one that comes through Campbell Hall, right? So it comes all the way across there?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
the address is hold on. I just was looking. Oh.
It's right by Jinkies and across from Rusty's.
But it doesn't go as far as Blue Canyon. I mean, how far?
It's 11611 Ventura, West Ventura Boulevard. Is that the right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. Sorry, I'm looking. I pulled up the wrong thing. No, this is not the one. Hold on. I'll send you all the oh, here it is, the planning.
If the property is shaped like a total triangle, then it doesn't include the other parcel with Electrica Mechanica.
Yeah, it's so it goes, the address goes from 11611 to 11695. And it's 4010, sorry, 4010 to 4028 Colfax.
Oh, so it does go from Blue Canyon. That is all the way from Enterprise.
Oh, it is all the way from
Yeah,
Enterprise?
that's all the way. It's everything from Colfax to Blue Canyon, which is 11611 is the one right to the west of Enterprise, the Enterprise lot.
Yeah. Does everybody want this, I'll send you the link to the land use. Yeah,
That's massive.
it's huge. It's a huge project.
And this was going to be focused on Alzheimer's, wasn't it? A
No,
memory?
It's an
No.
old, it's a retirement home, part of it. The
Mhm.
part on Colfax is going to be a retirement home, and then there's going to be a certain number, I don't know how many, of what do you call those?
Subsidized housing.
No, I don't think it's going to be subsidized. I think it's going to be like row house, townhouses, like 16 townhouses.
Okay. Got nothing against a townhouse. I just don't like development in a floodplain.
The townhouses are going to have well, it's kind of a weird thing that they're going to have roofs, rooftop to look over into the water,
Into the what?
into the river,
Into the what?
Beautiful scenic
Into the-
river.
into the, yeah.
All development now is going up because there's a separation of life on the street versus life at the top. So like in Hollywood, you have homeless people occupying the street, and then the developments are putting their rec rooms and the party pool on the roof. So you can drive into your parking
Uh-oh.
in the street. Post-pandemic, the public sector is becoming privatized. And yeah, so that all of that rooftop stuff, I'm not looking forward to that development at all. I'm on Colfax, and I thought the townhouses they installed, I guess in the 80s, were bad enough.
Can I just say something? I just think that your sustainability committee should be commenting on all development because it has to do with the infrastructure and the quality of life.
You want to tell that to Randy?
I will. I'll put my 2 cents in.
Thanks.
Oh, you're right. It is Alzheimer's. I'm sorry. Here, it says, okay, they want to demolish everything that's there. A 5-story roof deck for maximum overhaul height, 77 feet for the main building. Wow. 65-foot height to the top of the parapet, 11.5 additional feet to the height of the top of the highest roof structure. 129 licensed assisted living care housing, senior independent housing dwellings, 25 licensed Alzheimer's dementia care housing guest rooms with up to 28 beds and associated common areas. How did you know that?
So they're getting our rooms ready.
16
Right.
detached 3-story plus roof deck townhomes, 16 detached dwelling units with attached 2-car garages for senior owned and maintained local serving pocket park. The applicant is also requesting the approval of a conditional use permit for the sale of alcohol. Well, they want to get them drunk, and wow, that's weird. And then the addresses. It's an elder care facility. That's what it is. Yeah. You what?
/ nightclub.
You said what?
It's an elder care facility / nightclub.
Funny. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite the plan. It's huge.
But all the more reason, right? If you put this on top of what's being proposed for the adjacent area to Sportsman's Landing, suddenly you're looking at 2,000 residents in the next 36 to 48 months that will be new.
Well, the Alzheimer's patients won't be driving.
Maybe.
There's that.
Until they escape
On the bus.
on the bus. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot for a community to absorb. That level of,
They all have family members that come and go.
Yeah.
That's true.
And they will require a lot of staff as well. But frankly, the Colfax area over there could absorb more readily than the Coldwater and Ventura intersection can right now. But I mean,
I
to
think
my
I
point
could have been
earlier, I
enough.
mean, with Adele's story about, the near misses going into Erewhon, this was a place where because of it got really hard and everyone walked away from the traffic mitigation issues, we're going to have them all over. The Harvard Westlake project is going to have a huge issue getting across Whitsett off Valley Heart, because right now it is just a death trap there for families to walk across the street. And you see it, the bike path ends there. And now
well,
you're
I've
gonna-
been driving up in down Coldwater since 1994. And this last week, I've seen more people walking across Coldwater to and from Erewhon. And it is scary. I'm looking at them and I'm like, it's
Well,
dark. You can't see
it's
them.
so weird that they've got this designated as a non-pedestrian oriented area, part of Ventura Boulevard, right? From Whitsett all the way to Fulton, it's non-pedestrian oriented. You don't have places to cross Ventura. You don't have a place to cross Coldwater except at the major intersection. But if you want to get people out of cars, you have to take non-pedestrian oriented districts and make them pedestrian oriented, and you have to provide for slower traffic and traffic calming, and you have to provide for street crossings that are safe, and you have to prioritize pedestrians, and otherwise we just keep having carnage. This is what happens when you are like, are the cars going to be able to drive fast? Are you making it safe and easy for cars? This is what you get. And the whole development, the fact that there's no frontage on Ventura Boulevard for that Sportsman's Lodge thing, I think is a travesty.
I do too. It's so
Anyway,
ugly.
nuance.
Okay, so do we have any other agenda items or things we want to complain about? Sorry.
Yeah.
Any other action items that anybody has proposed?
How do we get to Randy with the idea of having a development scroll?
Patty's gonna advocate for us.
The committee has to make the proposals and stick with it and be forceful. You have to stand your ground.
Because traffic, safety, land use. I mean, land use is the one that doesn't sort of fit here, right? Because traffic, safety, and sustainability are all sort of disciplines. Land use goes over the top of that and can say it trumps everything else. The committee structures might not make the most sense.
Well, you want to start to draft something up about what's going on in Studio City? And I'll work
Sure.
with you on that, Chip.
Yeah.
And we can send it, we can, we can talk to Randy, because I don't think Randy's going to disagree. Sorry, I just lowered your hand, Alex. I didn't mean to. I meant to call on you. Alex?
Yes, I just needed to cover the clarity on the leaf blower situation, but we can get to that another time. Having visited a dealer who handles a lot of these leaf blowing landscape folks, he says it's illegal to be using the gas ones, and they could be called out, and they should be, and they're not being. I was looking at the program, which is no longer available from Steel, which STIHL, or that company that makes a very good.
Can we, you know what, I really want to talk about this. I really, really do, but we've gone way over.
Yeah,
So
we'll do
can we put that, I'm going to put that on leaf blowers as top of next agenda.
Yeah, because I think we could put it, get a little soft way that neighbors could call out the issue, because ready to happen. We're ready to attack this. I think we're ready to do this, and we need
Yep.
to.
I agree.
Want to bring that up.
Yep, yep. Let's talk about leaf blowers on next agenda. And
Thank you.
anybody, if you have a topic you want to talk about sustainability, please send it to me. I will put it in an agenda. And it's really nice if when you send me the topic, if you send me links so I can put the links in the agenda so people can read about it. And if you do it soon enough, I'll get it out a week early. Usually I try to get it out a week early so you can have time to look at the issues and, read about them and digest them and have some salient thoughts, even though I know. Chip
Adele,
and-
also make sure I know what you guys are expecting on this composting stuff from me.
We want a one sheet. We want a one sheet, something we could put up on the website to educate people about what the new law is and what is expected of them with
Yep.
compost.
I can give them some great opportunities to get into this in a way that's a lot better than I think most people are thinking. Okay, I can do that.
Could
Okay,
we
great.
include locations where composting programs currently exist in Studio City?
That
Yep.
would be 0, but okay. Do we have any?
Yeah, the one at the church.
The one at the church. Oh, right.
Yeah, it's actually walking distance down the street from me. But I'll cover all this. Thank you, Adele.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Okay.
Maisie says I'm working too late.
We've got to go. We've got to go. So can I end the meeting? And we know when our next meeting is, second Monday. Okay, thanks all. Thank you very much. That was a very productive meeting, I thought.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Night all.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.